Okay, well, I guess this is it. This is the beginning.
Well, do you know what?
Right,
I just want to start off by saying thank you for being on time.
We're
We're
only an hour and 3 minutes over, but that was an important. I actually did that importantly because it was an hour and 3 minutes that Greg Glassman took to write his email to Rocket.
It looks like he slapped us. Yeah, I'll give you that.
So what? So right, maybe we should.
Predicate what.
Maybe we should sort of. Yeah, I guess there'll be some sort of like an agenda to this, but we're going to broadly speak about what's happened with CrossFit, catch it up, and then offer our insights within it. I suspect that you've been doing a little bit of research.
No,
before.
I said it. I put it out there. Said, I hope you guys have done your research because I've done loads. And then you went, we're going to move it a day later so that we have a chance to do some research. And I was like, I haven't actually done any research. So now I'm going to look quite the idiot. No, I just think that maybe we start with, for people who don't understand what CrossFit is, that we start with what is CrossFit. A, what is it? And B, what is it to us?
Okay.
Because we're all varying into. I know that I started it just before Olly did, and he said that it. He said that it was stupid, and all you're going to do is going to get injured.
You can't say that. You can't say that.
It was stupid. All you do is
They'll
get
put
injured.
it on Ollie's gym. Like,
No.
do you remember what you said in the beginning?
I mean, the wording's changed slightly.
He said you're likely to get injured doing that many reps, and
Okay.
then 2 months later, guess who's doing it? And now who's opening a gym?
I mean, there's a little bit of that. But it's like anything. It's like anything. I thought rugby was stupid. I played that for
Since year 6.
And you're very good at rugby. And
And he's very good at CrossFit. He's better than me.
Yeah.
By far.
I was about to say, yeah, CrossFit is
You didn't
different for all
have
of
to
us.
say that.
For me, it's an ambition that I'll never achieve. For Ollie, it's a life.
Yeah.
For you, it's a...
I haven't achieved, that's the problem.
It's good dinner talk.
Yeah, it's it. It's good to watch other people be better than me. That's all it is. It's like
Oh, God.
hours of practice.
What is... Okay, how would... Do you know the actual definition of CrossFit?
Yeah. It's constantly
varied.
varied functional movements over broad time and modal domains.
You happy to do your research.
No, I just remember it from the level 1.
Okay. But it is... But I think...
Over a time domain.
I said that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I thought I'd been really smart there, throwing that puppy in there. That's my research done, dusted, finished.
Rhyme
done.
bit though.
I did.
But it's. I think what's happened recently is it's sort of highlighted that it is more than one thing because it's methodology and it's also the brand. And what's happened now is it's come to that flux where, and I've always thought it's quite a funny one, CrossFit, because you couldn't own rugby, you couldn't own football. Because CrossFit has become a sport,
It's like
because
FIFA,
it's that
isn't
effective.
it? It's like FIFA, where they own the somewhat rights of
It's just
football,
a cup,
don't
yeah.
they? I suppose. But they're in these sort of...
Right.
But then you have all
It is
the crap going on with football in terms
Yeah,
of
the governing body.
their crap and stuff, don't you? But it's the governing body, literally. But what I think they haven't separated is the sport from the community, from the methodology. It's all in a one big pot, isn't it?
Yeah.
But imagine for a second that you created that methodology for your ego sense, and then it's been successful. Now I heard someone say that the method that CrossFit would be successful with or without Greg Glassman. Like, yes, he created it, but its success isn't down to him because there's been so many parts.
But he
of
created
HQ.
this. He created this very, very first thing was to better his athletes he was coaching at the time, which were the skiers, weren't they? Cross-country skiers.
Yeah, that and gymnasts. He wanted to replicate the intensity.
I thought it was decathletes.
No, he was a gymnast, Greg
Okay.
Glassman was, and he said that nothing he did, any other conventional training in gyms, he calls them Globo gyms, but he said anything that he couldn't replicate the intensity of a gymnast performance, like out on the floor. So this was his creation, was to come off a workout as exhausted as you do when you do a performance, or you do a competition. And that's where he got the methodology from. That's why he added that time element to it. And it became a sport.
Wow.
In 1996, I did some research.
Yeah.
But a definition
Right,
of
can
sport,
we-
isn't a definition of
Can
sport
we
something
mute your
tested?
thing? Because I'm sure I'm hearing it. Hello?
Yes, through here.
No way. That's the.
And yours.
That's it.
There's
Yeah,
so
no,
many
it's
going on.
everything. What's that?
There's so much going on.
Man, that's cool. Just let them hang. If we let them hang down, then the mic won't pick it up. It'll be cool. Yeah, cool. Thank you. Sorry.
Where were we?
Oh yeah, I'm saying, but the definition of a sport is something that could be, sorry, it's something that's got a governing body in some respect. That's what the definition of sport is, isn't it now? And we were talking about what happened with Glassman. He created something to make himself a better athlete, wasn't it, in some respects? And then also his athletes around him, whether it was a decathlete, whether it was a ski or whatever it was.
Yeah.
What happened with his methodology, it turned into, with a governing body, aka CrossFit. I don't know where everyone's going at this point, but this point basically where you said beforehand, but completely that's what you said beforehand.
You're stealing my point.
No, I'm working on your point.
You're making it better, adding meat to the bones.
You spoke about something like he tried to do it better himself and to get the performance standard during his training.
Yeah.
With the methodology
I think he stumbled upon it. Like he's a smart guy, but I think he stumbled upon the beauty of it, and it is beautiful in regards to you get any other training program, and the best way to increase intensity is by making it competitive. You know, if you pit you against me, I'm going to lose, but if you put me against you, we're going to try harder than if we're working out on our own.
Okay.
Seeing someone else next to you adds that at that competitive level, adds that intensity to it. So that as a pill of intensity is something that people can take really easy. You put a class full of people and say, we're going for time, we're going to record this, and you're going against your peers, people put in more effort. And you therefore increase the intensity so you get better adaptations from...
Okay. You began this by saying Greg Glassman... You were like, Greg Glassman begun this methodology.
Yeah.
And then you've explained what that's become. And now I've lost the point.
That's what I went.
You sort of educated a bit.
I just saw a QB fly past.
Yeah. Fuck you, man.
Lily thinks bees are cute.
Yeah.
They are,
but, okay, so going back to this, like, detaching, so you've got, I mean, Ollie, you've nailed it. You've got, like, the methodology, you've got the community, and then you've got the brand.
And the sport, I suppose.
Yeah, the sport.
Yeah, judging body and stuff, governing body and such.
And now we see what happens when those things are interwoven like that, and then one thing F's up. So
it's already eggs in one basket, isn't there?
Yeah.
That's literally as it is.
Like, imagine if football was owned by the manager of, like...
You're out of your depth.
I'm out of my depth already. The manager of Heathfield Football Club.
Tiddlywinks.
But if you imagine football was owned by... Like, football was owned by, I don't know, who's a manager of a football club, and then he messes up, and then you have this... Or whoever runs the Premier League, and then you have this issue where...
I'm vaguely looking over there because this analogy's got so wayward.
It's not got legs in it.
I know what you're saying though. It's like such a big, like football's such a big sport now. Like so is CrossFit though.
Yeah,
such
but
a big
the
sport.
methodology is free.
But if a dude who freaking organises, there's got to be someone who sort of sits on top of the Premier League in some way.
Okay,
there's a CEO.
And if this guy fucks up, the football sport still exists. It has its history, and then he's gone. But because the brand and CrossFit HQ manage the sport, when that messes up, the sport's like, whoa, how do we sort of move on from this? Because we are so attached to the brand.
Yeah.
So that's now, I think, what's become a massive challenge for everyone to face.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you're now getting athletes like Annie Thorostos has said today. She was like, I'm still not in.
No. And do you know what? It's really, really hard when you talk about what you call yourself. Because for me, like...
That's a really funny quote on this.
It's really frustrating that... CrossFit is a sport, CrossFit is a methodology, whatever.
I want to hear the quote now.
I'm going to fluff it though.
Yeah, and then you are at a position where I liked it as an umbrella of, and it's easy to explain to people what we do. Like, it's a case of, and I feel that for him and his legacy, he'd be better off to say, you know what, I'm relinquishing all ownership of it to whatever.
Well, that's the biggest problem.
Even if it's a
the
charity.
biggest problem is him owning the 100%. That is where
that's what people
everyone is dropping
about.
out because there is 100% ownership still to Greg Glassman. Where so no matter what, whoever takes over, the end product is still going to Greg Glassman.
What's your quote? Yeah.
It's basically something along the lines of now when we go back to gym, when gyms reopen because of COVID, no one's going to be talking about CrossFit anymore because they haven't got a brand to talk about. But everyone's going to be talking about veganism or something like that. But it went along the lines. It made me laugh a lot.
What do you guys think is going to happen?
Well,
actually, before we go into that, I think you've got a really good idea of what has happened. So at the moment, I understand you've had a couple of sort of events, of which have been Greg Glassman being super opinionated on COVID. That's like sort of boiling, and then you've had this Zoom call with the initial Zoom call with 30 affiliates.
George Floyd's death.
Yeah. And then you've got the email from Rocket.
Yeah.
And then you've got the response to
then
Rocket.
you got the tweet as well.
The response and the tweet. Then we've got. Have you heard about the podcast that came out?
Which one?
Which one? The one that
Stump.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just watching it today. Actually.
Mad. Like.
Crazy.
And now you've got this, and it seems like because at the end he's like, he said something like mad the whole way through. He's so political and chilled and like, hey, I recognise and you're like, cool, like really, and then he's like, I will burn the fucking house down.
Right.
You're like, whoa, because I can imagine Greg Glassman listening, like, yeah, okay, like, well, cool, he sounds pretty fucked. Like, we've got this dude out, send Froning round, knock him out.
I think, like, from the Glassman perspective of it, I think he has been, because of his ownership of CrossFit and because that has grown so quickly across the world and people love it and it's become a way of life for some people, that he's been able to do what he likes. And some of those things have been terrible.
Like I said to you earlier, it's like going back to the...
Yeah, you're fine.
we can edit this. This is pizza.
This bit's for you without mushroom.
I love that smell on the camera.
I'm going one in the coffee.
Cute wasp, thank you.
What was I going to say? I can't remember.
It's good that Ryan put the plant pot back there.
Yeah, I know. As I said,
We've got a Zuma pizza.
No, the thing that's obviously been swept under the carpet for so long has been that he's been able to do these, and allegedly he's been able to do these things. And then as soon as, and now that's starting to come out, and I think the tweet has been like the lifting of the rug, and it's revealed Greg as an insensitive. Probably he's got such a grand ego now. You
could argue it's like Harvey Weinstein, that bloke, whatever was his name, Harvey something. You could argue it's that sort of situation where he's got so much power and he's just abusing it to some grotty.
Like these non-disclosure agreements.
Yeah, why do you need that when someone leaves a company?
But there's that, and then there's that sort of systematic dominance, like what he talks about in the podcast. He says things like, you would not be included in communications, like when you misbehaved, or you like your paycheck might reflect something funny, and it's those little I had no idea.
Like you read the ethics part or the in any of the qualification, for example, they go on to say about how they want to keep everything real clean, like nothing goes against anyone's sort of belief or religion or anything like that. All inclusive. They always go back to that. But if you tell them that he's just completely, he's really got against the whole grain, hasn't he?
I mean, we're obviously like taking like what that guy said in the podcast for his word, but that bit where he says that Greg Glassman was with that girl, and then he's like, we should name your. I look forward to naming your husband a hero. No,
for people listening that don't understand what we're talking about, Greg allegedly had his eyes on a particular HQ staff member, and she was out on a trip with him and a couple of others, including the guy on that podcast. And Greg understood that her husband was serving in the army in America, and that he had been deployed overseas. And he said to her, with everyone else that could hear, I hope we get to name a new hero WOD soon. And to people that don't know what a hero WOD is, it's when servicemen or
anyone really,
anyone that has lost their life, it's like paying honour to them and work out. Yeah, exactly. And he's basically, suggesting that if her husband were to die, it would give him a sure go at her, which, if true, is horrific.
You're like outrageous.
Yeah.
But I thought he got more and more confident as he was talking. He began like, I'm not going to know any specific instances because I'm worried about this non-disclosure and I know how hard they are on legislation. Then he's like, bang! You're like, whoa, okay, like this guy's getting braver.
He was quite evasive with the names. He didn't mention any.
He didn't mention any names.
Yeah, so
but that in of itself, if it's not true,
a defamation of character. Like,
yeah, but then he makes that call out, which is totally neutral ground. He's like, hey, get a third-party video group in who can film a conversation between us and them, and then if they can prove me wrong, then and it's totally unedited. So he can meet with CrossFit and he can call out the things that he saw, and they can.
We even asked them to come back to us. Said, like, come back to me and say, you want to talk about.
Absolutely.
I'll talk about any of the situations I've been through, my years of CrossFit. Sort of thing. He said that in the video. I mean, I only got halfway through the video because I had to do this because Louis rocked up late.
Your research started 5 minutes before. If what has been said is true, and he's been acting like that and abusing his power, that again is another nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
And the only frustration thing for me is, and actually, I don't know if you've seen it in the Rogue Invitational, which is a competition that's happening at the moment, in which they have taken the CrossFit logo off all of their merch and all of their promo. But within it, they were talking about how this is not a conventional CrossFit movement, how CrossFitters normally do this, that, and the other.
It's really
and they talked
hard
about that.
argue, isn't it?
Exactly. So
that's the sport.
Yeah,
that's the sport. And the only reason it's controversial is because we're like, well, the brand fucked up.
Yeah.
But the sport still exists.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
they're saying, what now do we call this sport? Do we continue?
It should still be CrossFit.
Well, you look at like the
still
big names.
promotion to his brand. If CrossFit the sport grows, his brand survives.
But that's the problem, and the only reason is because it's the case that it's been able to be patented or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But in no other instance can you patent a sport. But it has now become a sport. I get initially if it's just a methodology and he's like a personal trainer selling this methodology, but it's become bigger than that now. There's surely got to be an intervention where it's like, hey dude, like you've started a sport.
Well, you can probably argue.
You can't own it now.
Like, for example, this is a completely automotive sort of side of things. But I know, for example, like there was ownership from McLaren. I just know this through reading shit and stuff like that. McLaren bought out the owner, Ron Dennis at some point. He got bought out, and now some other blokes with earning millions and millions of bucks are owning McLaren now. But they basically asked him to leave. I mean, obviously he didn't do anything wrong. They just didn't agree with where he wanted to go. They moved him out, paid him out, bought him out. And they still own McLaren. So McLaren legacy is still going, although he owned it from the start.
Yeah, right.
He then bought shareholders into it. So I don't know. Is Greg Glassman 100% shareholder of CrossFit?
He bought the... him and his wife set the company up, and he bought his wife out when they divorced. So...
Maybe it needs a board of directors.
That's what they're saying. They're saying they put a board in, but he's still going to be making that money. I think that's the problem. I think the solution to this is for Greg, and it's like he's still created this massive legacy. He's going to be all right financially. He's got a £9 million house in Hawaii. He's got other houses around the place. He's done all right out of CrossFit. I think he can just legit say, do you know what? I want my legacy to be this, and I'm going to hand this over into it in its entirety to a board or a charity or whatever. Like the profit from CrossFit goes back into CrossFit or becomes a charity.
I think his pride is probably too much. He's probably got too much pride going on there. That he wouldn't do that.
Would you do it though? Like if
I fucked up?
I would want my legacy to continue. So yeah, I would. I would say I would be like, I've created something, whether it would have been invented or whatever. That's something that I've got my stamp on. It's not called the Ryan methodology, but it's a something that I can be proud of, and I want to cut my ties that and let that go.
You could argue your... I think I put it down, for example. If that blew up and you said something wrong, never saying you would say something like that. But you said something wrong, would that tarnish pick it up, put it down as a company, or would that tarnish... But then you've got to argue who's involved in pick it up, put it down. It's a charity, so it's not technically solely yourself. You're the face, you're the organizer as such. But it's like saying any company you have, what you need to... There needs to be something like be put in place that any company resets up now, whether it's technology company, whether it's sport, whatever they do, they need to set up a you do it like in governing body. You put a limited thing to it. It can't fuck up financially. Yeah, it can't come for you. They need to put a clause in there where it comes to if you fuck up, you can't. Whatever the idea is, it carries on going. Yeah. But yourself is pulled away from it. So the owner gets pulled away. It could. I don't know if someone could control that, but then is anything controlled again more?
I mean, he currently controls it and calls the shots. as an owner.
Even Castro will be controlled by
And
who is going to be the
Well,
who is the new CEO.
There's still like it's like, and I get
love
what
Castro.
I know you love Castro, but I get how it's still a bit like they still haven't
It's
really addressed it.
incestuous
Even
and
Dave
such.
Castro's posts that have come out about it, it's like address the elephant in the room. Say the words Black Lives Matter in your opinion, even if you disagree with it. Like say the things. Those are the things that were called out on the email. Those are the catalysts with it. So address Black Lives Matter. Address the Floyd 19 thing. Address the COVID thing.
Would you go back to? Would you address the Jessica Griffiths stuff as well? Like,
Well, that's what
you
you've
hear
been-
about
that's
that? The Chandler stuff. You hear about that?
What's that?
Oh,
Oh yeah. I mean,
That's not him though.
That's not him.
no,
that's-
would you address it though? Because you're now a community.
I think that's
They're in the sport still, aren't they? They're still athletes in the sport.
I think for the
Would you go that
CrossFit
far or
HQ,
not?
I think with regards to CrossFit HQ, the catalyst to this fire need to be addressed, and being like, we're listening to you, like he's been really open with being like, look, we're listening, we want to know how to go forward, which is absolutely right. But if you're truly listening, listen to what people are really pissed off about and address that. Even with, I think Castro's a really like intelligent dude.
So Castro, how would you go about saying, okay, if we need to address the situation, everyone at the end of the day, everyone wants Glassman out, don't they? They want to say bye to Glassman, keep the CrossFit brand going. How would you do that? Can you kick it owner out so not 100%?
No, not. But he could literally say, like, he could come forward and maybe address that to some degree. But come forward and be like, hey, look, it's more complicated than that. But be honest. If you're going to come forward and put a statement out like, look, we're going to be really honest with everyone, then be honest. Come out and be honest about the fact that it's
their post they have put out. Have you seen the CrossFit post? And it's a lot of it's a long post.
Which one?
The one
On the
post
website the
Dave
other day.
Castro talking about how they're trying to change the culture within CrossFit and how they're gonna
Externally
make
and
steps.
internally and stuff, yeah.
But
yeah.
even then, it's equivocal. Like if you read that at the end of it, you read for like, and I'm not joking, I might be a slow reader, but I read that, and it's like a 3 to 5 minute post that you read, and you get to the end of it, and you're like, you didn't really say anything.
No,
That's what I mean.
Right? And again, but
Yeah, man. And
and
people
it's-
want to.
Yeah, people want to.
There's no outcome. There's no outcome at the end. of the
No,
day.
well, there's ideas and there's workings on, and there's things that they say they're going to do.
That's
But
the problem. They say they're going to do it. If they don't brush it under the carpet again, are they trying to just
Yeah.
hide everything and brush it under the carpet and let everyone get on their lives again?
It does feel like that. It does feel like
I think the post he's done is right. Like I like that he's said about like the things they're going to do and they're opening up, but I think it has missed the one before where he addressed it, where CrossFit literally come out. They've said like even with the Greg Glassman thing, it's not like he's like my behaviour. They haven't come out and said
Yeah, sorry.
he was wrong.
Yeah.
So they haven't said what's your position. If you don't think he's wrong, come out and say you don't think he's wrong. But because they haven't done that, people are still a bit like.
Well, they're still saying there's
We don't know
disagreements
what-
within the HQ.
Why can HQ?
How can there be disagreements? What side of history do you want to be on?
Why can HQ just come out and say if whoever HQ is, whether it's I don't know 300, 400,000, whatever people it is, why couldn't people just open up their voice now and say, look, this is wrong. We are sorry. We don't want to affiliate with that. Because what companies doing, they're like I said to you earlier, the Raw Dogs. They are. I mean, they're a big part in the UK.
Right.
In terms of the CrossFit as a sport, shall we say? They now moved to a functional fitness unity sort of thing. They're now creating a new brand of sport, shall we say? That it follows the same methodology, just not the same principles.
Wow.
And they've got a community getting built up now through that way, and they've got a great followings through people who are sponsored by Gymshark, who are a bit, like Obi Vincent, say he trains there. He's a big life. He's not a CrossFit, such he's a cross lifter, whatever that is. Or
What if that happened? So I mean, what if let's say 4 days ago, CrossFit came out. We're like, we totally disown anything he said. Greg Glassman's gone. We are absolutely for the Black Lives Matter movement, if that's what they are. Do you think in that instance that they were? Do you think in that instance that all of this would have happened? I think it wouldn't have. I don't think you'd have had this fracture.
No, there's an underlying bubbling of what CrossFit has done to affiliates. And if you read into the CrossFit Rockets email, is they haven't been supported. CrossFit has been taking £3,000 or $3,000 off gyms to affiliate with them, and they have given nothing back. They've out of
it's a
almost
lot of money as
egotistical
well,
to
man.
say, do you know what, you're lucky enough that you're allowed to talk about CrossFit in your gym.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. And to be fair, a lot of gyms have made a lot of money riding off the back of the coattails of CrossFit. You know, as it's grown as a sport, they've been able to use that methodology and openly advertise it through and set up their independent businesses and brands.
Okay.
So they have made money out of it, but it's very difficult when you have been an affiliate for so long. And a lot of these affiliates have been there, and they've been like, well, the leadership's what do they get for their £3,000? They get very little in response. They get no communication, no leadership.
You get a name, and you're basically buying a name, but a name you're buying now is being tarnished with a bad press.
Yes.
And it's not. I mean, I'm not agreeing with the press ever at all. Far from. I don't agree with what was said, but I'm agreeing. You're buying what was a community, shall we say, and you're being part of that community. And you're getting onto the methodology side of things. You can call yourself a CrossFit coach. You can call yourself a CrossFit brand. But I think that's been killed off now in terms of like what the biggest thing carrying CrossFit through. I think massively was the community.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I think that there has been killed. I think it's been killed.
The faith in that has. I mean, the faith in CrossFit has been killed.
Do you think it's been killed, or it's detached itself from headquarters, which has seen the fractures as the community like rambling to try and find where they now sit?
There's no split as such. It's not saying I agree with Glassman, is there? No one has come forward and said I agree with what Glassman said, have they?
No.
So there's a community massive, not even divide. Majority, shall we say, have gone. This is fucked up.
But that's what I mean. That's the problem, is because no one agrees with him. So it's almost like him versus the whole community. So it's like, right, the community is still one. Therefore, if you removed him, you wouldn't have had the community being like, right, Greg has fractured us all. Where do we now go? I think everyone's on the same page. Therefore, had they removed him and made their client steerer initially, then people would have been like, cool, let's stay with CrossFit, the brand, because we now are behind it, and we know that has led our community before. Because they can't get behind
Can they
it.
just change the name? Couldn't they just say, like, whoever CrossFit HQ are, can they just pick the bags up and go, right, whoever agrees with Glassman, stay. And this new part, can they just pick the bags up and go, okay, we're going to call ourselves cross-training? You know?
I mean, there's stuff. I mean, this is moving so fast, isn't it? Like, there's new stuff every day.
Yeah,
I think there's a few athletes that are talking about what they're going to do next, and they haven't obviously released that yet. We're talking before that's happened, so this might go out, and then a group of them got together and said, we're going to call it community fitness, whatever. We can't. We're not privy to their conversations.
What do you think about community fitness?
I like it. It's still long. I don't know
What
why.
do you think?
I don't mind it. At the end of the day,
It is what it is.
Okay.
It is what it's about. The sport's about. But
I'm not a fan.
you're not.
No.
What do you, if you could.
I don't know. I don't know what I would call
right
it.
now. Just
No, I can't. I don't. I don't know.
Spitball.
I like
name.
CrossFit. I
like
think
that,
it's
yeah.
unfair that because he messed up and he's the brand, and this is coming back to what I'm saying before. Everything has got to change because headquarters messed up.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we go? No, we own this. Pour litigation on us all. Like everyone marches saying, "I am CrossFit." Like, fine us all. I mean, it'd be awful if they did.
Yeah.
But I think community fitness, not if that's the way it goes, I'll follow it. But if community fitness, to me, is way broader than CrossFit.
Yeah.
But not because CrossFit is any more specific in its definition using those words.
It's not changing its anything.
No, I totally get that.
But why? It's just a name then, isn't it? It's just a name you're thinking about.
You're a community fitnesser.
Yeah, you just.
Oh,
see
No, man!
I hate it. I hate it.
No, you don't like that, man.
CF still.
Yeah, I guess.
I just. Yeah. I just.
So you want a Heineken?
Yes. I am.
Got like a straight ahead one.
I'm going to jump on. Thank you, man. But I'll jump on these. If you do the thing with the next Australia, you've got to get that so the camera can see it. Do you want the Heineken?
I'm going to be.
Thanks.
Can this be pee bear right now? I got pee.
Yeah. Please break.
But I'm going to get out of shot because I know what Louis like.
Why?
He's just going to put an edit at the end of me.
My face. It's going to be me here sitting here drinking like, thank you.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Bonjour, ça va?
I've come.
Gee, this is really nice.
You like it or not?
No, I think it's really nice.
I know what face means.
What face? The face that eats pizza quickly.
The face that eats pizza.
Like, these are my face.
Man, you can eat that while you talk.
No.
Yes, you can.
It's uncooked.
We're losing the light.
Don't neglect the pizza. Don't neglect the pizza. Homemade pizza.
I'll give you a breather. Take a seat. I'll give you a breather. I won't jump in. Yeah.
We've got them there, Luke.
Yeah. What's that?
We've got them there.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's what you're going to do. You're going to be like a small section of Ryan eating a pizza in slow-mo.
Do your mouth shut then.
Oh, here's some ice cream. Okay. No.
you can't.
Oh, amazing.
Oh, I'm bothered.
Just imagine what I would do to you if you were doing it.
What would you call it, Ollie?
What would I call it?
Fortior Fitness.
Right. Do you know what- Right, okay. On that, are you going to affiliate? Can we talk about Fortior Fitness?
Yeah, I'm talking about Fortior Fitness.
Okay,
It's out in the open, isn't it? So I had a chat with my business partner about this, whether we're affiliate or not. In two ways, one or two ways. So we can look at two strengths. Like we now go in, we've got a whole clean slate to say this is how we want to train. Like I love the methodology of what you would call the sport of CrossFit. I follow it. I am passionate about it. Same as Rye, he's passionate about it, and probably same as yourself now. I don't see any. I wouldn't say no to any sort of thing. So someone said, "Let's go and do a powerlift session right now. Let's go and then go for a mountain bike hike." I think all of it is great. I think it's all got its place in some way, shape, or form. I was talking to my business partner about it, Simon. We were saying like it will save us $3,000 a year, so we could talk about financial attributes to our company. And we're like, hey, we've got $3,000 spare. That then we could put into more monostructural equipment, aka row machines,
Yeah, man.
bikes and stuff. To make
Personalised
the
barbell
community
for me.
to make the community have more, community fitness, have more equipment to use. But then we argued, we are following the methodology of CrossFit. I'm not saying we are CrossFits, we're not CrossFit yet, but we are following that methodology. And people buy into a brand. We were setting this company up before COVID struck. It sort of stops in our path a little bit. But, that is.
Were you going to affiliate before all of this kicked off?
Yeah. We planned into our head we're going to affiliate because we believe that.
It's almost a badge of honour, though. Like, for me, if I was setting up a gym, I would want it to be an affiliate. Even now. Because I still think I think that...
You wouldn't wait?
I don't know, though, now, because I think you can still wear a badge of honour and still be a badge of honour with other communities. Yeah. Like, I feel like...
Just what do you call it?
CrossFit HQ.
Well, you call
needs
it
to...
your brand, man.
CrossFit HQ, man.
Are you talking it as a... Sorry. Are you
No,
talking it as a sport? Are you always saying it as a sport?
Mm.
Is it the big IT?
No.
Let's call it it.
The nutrition, like, okay, so I think you've got, like, you can be, like, to nutritionists now, they're bringing out, like, chartered nutritionists.
Yeah.
I think what CrossFit should do is open up the methodology for people to being allowed to use it in their terminology of their methodology in their gym. So you can start up a box and be like, we follow CrossFit methodology.
I suppose you could do this as well, though.
You can't use CrossFit in your marketing.
You can say we're using CrossFit methodology, or you can say that you are a CrossFit trainer. You can't say you're a coach, and you can't say that you're a CrossFit box or a CrossFit gym.
Unless you do your.
You can say we're a gym that follows the CrossFit methodology.
Can you say that?
Yeah.
I can say I'm Fortior Fitness with CrossFit coach in there. CrossFit level 1 coach.
No trainer,
whatever.
They're really their terms and conditions are really, really anal. But
I'm CFL1, but I thought it was like you could say CFL1 or CrossFit level 1.
Yeah, you can say that as a trainer.
You can't say coach.
No, to be a coach, you have to be level 3.
Wow.
Mad, isn't it?
So if again, that's their idea of a badge of honour. But you can say your gym follows the CrossFit methodology, and you can have.
But then this is
That's
good. This goes back to the
that.
point you asked me about would I affiliate. I don't know now because you've got a GB weightlifting. You can go and do that to learn how all your Olympic lifts. You can then go and do I don't know. British athletics. You can then go and learn how your running gaits.
The gymnastics course have separated.
It's all preferred stuff now. So technically, they were in so much doing that route in terms of like precision nutrition. They were approved. They approved it, so it was considered a CrossFit approved.
Yeah, which is still lining CrossFit's pockets.
Yeah,
It's
massively.
basically-
But I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think didn't you do precision?
I did PN1, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they approve it now. So it's like saying, we agree this is really one of the better courses to do. But just I mean, like, so I could go and do every course under sun with the best of the best. Like, I could go and train with the GB Olympic team for gymnastics and learn my gymnastics credibility. But I think we all go back to this situation. It's just a name now we have to call it. So why is people powerlift and strongman and whatever? Why do they have to say? They don't say we are a strongman gym, do they?
Yeah,
Strong,
they do.
not
Right.
always. Not always. People
No,
do
not
strongman
always, but-
training, don't they? It's like
But Strongman isn't a brand. That's where it's become the problem. If Strongman were a brand, then you wouldn't be
Is it
able to
not
say
a brand?
that.
And I think that's the issue. I didn't realise that you can say we follow CrossFit
Yeah.
methodology, and I think that would be if like you're starting a business and you want people to come into that business. I think if you can say we're FortiorFit, we follow CrossFit methodology.
I use that for VI Fitness. In any promotion that I do, this is a fitness league that uses CrossFit methodology as a test of fitness. I would never say it's a CrossFit event or whatever because I legally couldn't be. I wouldn't be able to say that according to their terms and conditions.
I don't know. So yeah, it goes back to that. I don't know now. Like, I need to see what happens in the next month, because that's when we are developing ourselves in terms of premises-wise and stuff. We are moving that direction. So we're moving with the news, what they're doing, but we're also moving in terms of trying to get ourselves out there. We're still going to follow a functional fitness style of training, which we believe in. And we're like anything, though, we adapt it to what we believe in, and we adapt it to what we feel is fit for our athletes or our members at the gym or such.
I think the other thing, there are benefits. This is now moving away from the sports side of it, because I think the sports side of CrossFit now has been the most affected, because CrossFit as a sport within the community is very understood as to what it is. But in terms of where there is a weakness in CrossFit is in the misunderstanding and the misapplication. So like people getting themselves injured because they're not following it properly,
and that's
and
what
then also people not understanding it properly, right? Because they haven't chosen to do that. But now there's an opportunity. You open a gym and you call it, and then people might see FortiorFit CrossFit and they're like, "That's that stupid thing where people get injured." FortiorFit functional fitness. You get to explain your methodology a bit more. It's CrossFit methodology, but you've opened a gate to people who might have been shut off.
You can influence in how what you believe in more as well. Like, there's some things out there, even in the CrossFit methodology, I still haven't got my head 100% round, or don't agree with how they do things. In some sense, like hitting, for example, I don't know, this might really tarnish stuff, but fuck it. Hitting a heavy ass snatch after a shit ton of CV. I'm sure at some point someone's programmed that somewhere.
Yeah.
Is that wise? You're absolutely under your highest fatigue. You're trying to hit your sub-maximal sort of your snatch. Is that wise? I mean, if you asked an Olympic weightlifting expert, would you hit your sub-maximal coach sub-maximal snatch under full fatigue? They'd be like, no fucking way.
Yeah, man.
They probably hit a sub-maximal lift and rest 10 minutes.
Do you think people program that?
Oh,
yeah, man. Of course
really?
they do. And they call it... Right, this is where I get... Where if they had gone, right, we're trademarking the methodology. Because you'll get people be like, right, we're going to do a CrossFit class now, guys. They program it awfully like that because they think it's just do as much shit as you can in a session.
That's misinformation.
And then the 10 people that go to this class are like, that was mad. I'm not injured. I'm not following CrossFit.
Yeah.
So I sort of get
that's down to the programming.
The protectiveness.
Yeah, exactly.
No, exactly.
But I can't see that.
But that's why I understand
who's-
why the name would be protected in that instance.
Yeah.
So who's looking over your, it's like what are they called? What, when you do an exam person.
Invigilators.
Yeah. Who's invigilating your programming? Like, you've now qualified as a CrossFit coach. Hopefully you've qualified. This is you've done your level 1. Let's say you've done your level 2, 3, 4, whatever you do.
Yeah.
Who's saying now that you have the right tools, you've been taught how to do it in terms of their methodology? Who's saying that you can't just go away and write, I'm going to write a fucking program now. I'm going to write what the fuck I want. You're going to run a 26-mile run, and then you're going to hit, I don't know, 10 rounds of DT at 100 kilos. Like, Who's
saying
saying?
listen to anyone else's program?
Yeah,
for
exactly.
that
But,
reason.
but who's saying you couldn't do that? Because
You could,
you now
yeah.
got a stamp of honour and saying, oh, I've got this, all these,
You would
Yeah.
hope-
you know, scout badges and
You're
stuff.
right, but you would hope that with their education that they would learn through that the correct way to program. So if I we all see programming come out on Instagram or whatever, and you look at it and you know someone's getting injured, and you think that it's like Beyond the Whiteboard say it's varied, not random. Whereas people think, oh, just pick random numbers out. They don't understand like what metabolic pathways they're using or what modalities they're using. They just go, we'll pick random things, and then we'll pick random times, and then we'll pick random movements, and that's how you program for CrossFit. And that is down to education. So if you're paying for or getting a program from someone and you don't know what their qualifications are, that would be down to the athlete. And in my eyes, you're opening your opportunity for injury or programming. If I saw someone program that workout with a 1 rep snatch that wasn't a competition, then I would argue that person programming is awful. And they should.
But then how do you, if you're like sitting on the CrossFit, to play devil's advocate, you're sitting at CrossFit HQ, you're like, right, we don't want to totally make CrossFit a term that no one can use without affiliating, because you just said like you can put it as our gym follows CrossFit methodology.
Yeah.
Then how do you stop someone wielding that sword but absolutely incorrectly?
It's like
Without
it's like me saying
they're
like
just saying.
O
Well, they don't
Vincent.
now.
O Vincent uses his. I'm sure loads of people, but he's. I love his stuff he does. He's great. He looks at all accessibility work, auxiliary work, and he goes off. But he also follows, the metcons and stuff like that. But he does follow that, so he calls himself cross training. Like, what's he doing? Is he following a CrossFit methodology, just not calling it methodology and calling it something else? I mean,
he's very intelligent.
yeah, massively. He's a great coach as well.
Yeah, but says that he's following. He may have a program, I don't know.
He's got a huge amount of followings as well. Like, I think it's awesome. But it goes back to saying, everyone's saying, what are we going to call it? What should we call it? What should we call it? Does it matter? Does it matter what we call it? Does it matter we just follow a methodology now? And that's something going to be created. It's like hypothesis. What's it called? Hippocrates. The big guy.
Yeah.
He says all this shit that not everyone believed as such. Some people believed it,
Yeah.
But people still follow some of the stuff, some not the other stuff we've forgotten about.
Oh man,
Is it
yeah,
a thing,
like
is it a
maybe
thing
it's
of
not.
history now? Like, do we follow a thing of history where you take what you want away from it? Great.
Then what? Then how do you? And maybe this is. Do you know what, man? Maybe this is wrong, but a footballer identifies athletically as a footballer.
Yeah.
A rugby player identifies athletically as a rugby player. Within CrossFit, a gymnast identifies as a gymnast. An Olympic lifter identifies as an Olympic lifter. If CrossFit doesn't exist, what do you identify as? A functional fitter, or a community fitnesser? And then if you have something like, and then there's that. Then my worry is, then what happens? Then you don't have the CrossFit Games because you identify as community fitness, you identify as Rye Fitness, I identify as Cross Fitness. It's like, we all follow different things. Where is the unification that we actually all follow the same methodology?
Which is what
and
I
that's
think
why it
everyone
should be CrossFit remains.
Yeah.
They need to do a big thing, I'm not entirely sure what it is, in order to unify the community before everyone detaches.
You know what you could do? You could count every single sport they do, every single.
Oh no!
And call it.
I think stop there.
Decathlete.
I think, and that's my problem. And that's the thing that I'm most frustrated about is that like the setup was good, and someone in there
Was it
did a
good
bad
though?
apple.
Because look what
it
happened.
was.
Someone said one thing or two things or three things.
The setup was good in regards to the sport, as in the things that have happened are behind closed doors of one man wielding too much power. If you dissolve that power and it goes into a governing body, a board of directors, or whatever, and has Dave Castro as CEO,
You would have Dave Castro as the
Vince
freaking cover model.
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
could.
And then going forward, Greg Glassman, like I said earlier on, to protect his legacy, if it was me in that position and I'd made a mistake, I would let go of that so that thing can survive, because he's suffocating it every minute that he spends 100% the owner.
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating thing, because we all want to, not just a name, although it does seem like we're all really hung up on a name, but it is...
like community fitness.
Yeah, no one likes community fitness. But just want to have the old thing back, but we know that there've been mistakes that have been made, and we want to move forward with it and transition into more inclusivity, which I think most of the affiliates would assume that was already being thought about. It's like, and it's obvious when you look at the rosters of the CrossFit Games that it isn't, but you could argue that by having an athlete from every country in the world is the opposite behaviour of a racist. You know, to invite all of the nations to a sport.
Was that not just line his pocket more though?
I don't
That
think
is
it does.
that is the argument of like proximity to not being racist. It's like someone saying, I walk past black people all the time, therefore I'm not racist.
Yeah.
And that makes sense if you position a racist as someone who can't even stand the sight of.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think that is an argument. I personally don't feel necessarily that Greg Glassman is a racist. I don't know that.
No.
I think there's enough evidence, but it doesn't mean that things he said haven't been racist, or haven't had racist tones in them.
Yeah.
And those things need to be addressed. And we probably position it wrong if we say we're calling him a racist. But he does need to be accountable for the things he said, of which are racist.
Yeah.
And so we almost go on a tangent about being like, hey, look, he's not a racist because he invited these different... If he is a racist, that doesn't undermine it. And I think we're not even on the argument of if he's racist or not.
I think there's a hidden agenda to grow CrossFit as a brand by including...
That was the only reason they did that. Why else would they have done a workout initially who like wiped out half the... That was, I get it, I get it, but it was like...
Well, we're talking just about the games as well. It's just the games you're talking about. You're not talking about as a sport itself. It's a global recognition of sport. You're talking about the games as a 1%er.
I think for sure. And I think what's happened is a bit like you were saying. The affiliates have been a little bit pissed off for a while or not. You've got this issue with a headquarters, which is running a treadmill at their speed, and everyone's like, "You say we're with you, but you keep pressing up the notch," and it's like, okay, we'll keep running and paying you our $3,000, but the games didn't run in a way that we knew it. Not even like we agreed or disagreed with how you ran the games last year. You didn't communicate with us what the hell was going to happen with the games. So the CrossFit's communication hasn't been great.
Yeah.
Their COVID stance, Greg Glassman speaks on behalf of CrossFit when he tweets because he is the CEO of CrossFit. His COVID stance was arguable. Then everything that happened recently, the affiliates are like, hey, we are actually behind CrossFit, but the way you're positioning our community in what you're saying is absolutely wrong. And it's almost like we're detaching our ties with you. What's the word? When you don't really want to do it, but I can't think of the word. Like, we are detaching our ties with you. We don't really want to do that. We have to because you're running at a treadmill that we don't agree with. We don't know the destination you're running into. So hopefully it's like, we detach. You guys need to sort your shit out now, and then we come back in.
Yeah, no, I mean,
again,
that's the dream with Dave Castro as CEO.
but with a board of directors
that he's accountable to. Yeah, 100%.
I think that's what they need. They need a body of people of all ethnicities, all abilities, from all walks of life, everything. Where it's terms of they've got every aspect covered. Whether you're from a small tiny weeny box down road that has like 3 members to your mate Ahem, whatever, you have everyone that can have a say.
Or they go the other way and they go, do you know what, we're going to stop trying to control everything. We put these very fine rules out about what our methodology is, the legislation about how you can use our name, and then go. And then they don't have to be responsible for how every single thing is. Do you see what I mean?
But
if Greg Glassman wants to control everything, then own that.
What are they paying $3,000 for then? In terms they haven't got
That's a good point.
A control as such. Then do you pay the $3,000 to be controlled? You pay the $3,000 to be told.
I think they want leadership, and that's they want innovation and direction.
Who want that?
Do you know what? Going back to why I would pay $3,000 to be an affiliate, I would pay $3,000 to be an affiliate because what it does, it puts my name on the map. It would have put my name on the map saying we are a CrossFit.
Do you think that would have increased your membership?
Yeah, because it would have pulled in CrossFit members.
Yeah,
or community fitness members.
Yeah, but do you think if you position yourself with your marketing in a way that made it obvious your methodology was CrossFit, do you think the
then
Percentile.
10,000 or 13,000 affiliates wouldn't have affiliated.
It's like
if they
wearing-
could
it's
do
like-
that
it's
and
like-
make a decent, and make a creditable business. I think it has had an increase on their membership and their.
You could argue that though massively. I could design a T-shirt that says Mike on it. You know, Mike training. You know, just be it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could take everything Nike's done and said, "This is Mike." If I held a Mike T-shirt up and I held a Nike T-shirt up, identical, who are they going
They'd
to go
sue you.
for? They're going to go. Well, they'll sue me from first, obviously, but you know, in terms of
But
that,
if people were buying the Nike T-shirt because of the cotton thread on it, and you are doing Mike, and you tell everyone that the cotton thread is the
Thread's the
same,
same, yeah.
and it's half the price because you're not having to pay
people
this affiliation
believe
fee.
what they put their trust in.
No, I get that. So then I get the trust argument. But But what I'm saying is, do they trust the
I
brand
don't know.
or do they trust the
If I held
methodology?
two T-shirts up to you and said, "This is Nike, this is Mike," what would you buy?
Definitely the Nike. Definitely the
Exactly.
Nike.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
because of the trust. But is it? But if I'm going in with the intention of buying the Nike, not because of the brand, but because I know that the brand reflects the cotton weave of it, and you tell me well the cotton weave's the same, and it's cheaper, then I'm like, well, and then it's like, could you make it cheaper if you're not paying the
Yeah, but
affiliation?
still, would you wear that T-shirt if it had the cotton thread? You know, the same. Everything is exact same. Would you
Not if I
still-
was buying the T-shirt for the brand name.
Exactly. So what we
But
buy
do people go
CrossFit
to a
for
CrossFit box so they can go to a CrossFit box, or do they go to a CrossFit, or do they go to a box and say I'm a CrossFitter?
I think they go to a box.
I don't belong to a box,
Knowing-
and I refer to myself as someone who follows CrossFit.
Yeah, same.
I did.
They they
Right, it's like diplomatically trying to sweep that.
Yeah. No, you go to a
See, earplugs, man. Yeah.
you go to a CrossFit box
They're fake.
because you
They're
know
not real.
what
They're
you
not
know
real.
what.
No, shut up.
Apple, I'm sorry. No, they're not. They have all the Apple logos on them. They're not real.
And they're not as good either. That's the
That is
problem.
true, that is
Yeah,
true.
They're not as
I
good.
think by quality.
You call him up when he first got them. I phoned him up on Mickey's Mickey's Apple actual iPods.
You had no idea.
I was like,
iPods on
whatever the fuck they're
Mickey's
called. I use Android because I'm
Because I started
sorry.
two things together.
right.
Hello?
And I was listening to her on those AirPods, talking to him on the phone, and I could hear him echo, and I was like, "What's happening?" In fact, no, this is the
I've done my
first
Lewis Rand impression,
this
actually.
This is not our first
Okay,
conversation.
go.
I was on my phone, he was on his stupid fake AirPods, and I could hear his echo. I went, "Are you on loudspeaker?" You know, you get when you get in a car and it's like trying to connect, and it has like two different things.
How do you know you weren't on a
No,
loudspeaker?
and I said, because I was on my phone, and I said, "Are you on loudspeaker?" He goes, "No, I just got these new earphones," and I went, "I don't think the earphones work." And he went, "Yeah, they're like Apple Pods or AirPods, what the fuck they're called, but they're not. I don't know what they're called."
You're so
And
old.
they don't. He goes, "Oh, they're half the price." I was like, "And the quality."
That's fun.
And then he goes, every time
Mate, you're so funny.
every time I called him, it was that stupid echo. I went, "You're on your stupid fake AirPods again, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then I called him up on Mickey's official Apple ones, and then I go, "Can you hear anything?" I don't know. I'm holding a fake phone now, and then I go, "Can you hear?"
That's what your dad's trying to explain
like-
to you, son, isn't it?
"Can you hear me okay?" He's like, "Yeah, why?" I'm like, "Are you sure you can hear me okay? There's no like delays or echoes." He's like, "No." I was like, "Because I'm on the actual AirPods, not these fake Chinese ones that you've been buying." So, long story short, he bought the wrong ones.
Oh man, that's
But the fraction of the price.
That's reminded me of a story when we were in France and you guys were. So we went to France and it was like me and Hayden and Hayden's truck.
Oh,
Wait.
And
In you go.
that's all right. So yeah, we when we went to France, it was me and Hayden's truck in front and Ryan and Simon behind. And we pulled in, we were like pulling into France, we were like almost going under this intersection thing. And as we were coming in, there was a family of, or like a group of people who'd got in front of the truck, and they were asking for money, but they wanted to clean the windscreen. And I was driving Hayden's truck, and I was like, no, we're fine. And Hayden began with, slow down, don't run them over. And I was like, obviously, so I was like, slow down the truck. Ryan and Simon are behind, and it gets more and more aggressive. And this guy's like, give us money, and I'm like, dude, first I don't have any cash on me, and we don't want you to clean the car. So, and this is like a fast
I know
bit of
exactly
road.
what you mean as well.
Yeah.
They always do it, don't they?
Oh man, and then he starts smacking on the window, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm finding this funny. I'm like, oh man, what are we gonna do? Like total fear laughter, like
We might die.
and we might die. Anyway, it gets more and more heated. Hayden's like, drive. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I don't want to drive because I've run someone over. So I can't find my phone. So I do this with my fingers. I reach for the centre of the car, pull it up to my ear with my fingers.
Oh, he's on the phone.
My pinky and my thumb. And I'm like,
Switch gadget.
calling the police. Like, the guy looks at me like, we give up on this, dude.
Yeah,
Went to you.
Yeah. That guy's having special needs. He's gone to the wrong car. With me though, they go, give us some money, and I had like my iPhone here, I had like a walkie-talkie so we could communicate, I had a sat-nav here, I had all these like
I don't own
gadgets.
anything.
And he's
And I
meant
was
to be
like, I haven't
driving a
got
car.
any money.
He's
And
meant to be driving a car.
I was like, I haven't got any money. Simon Gators invested that though. The man put his hand into the car with his hand
Simon,
open
you're
to
rubbish.
take some
Simon was
money.
smoking,
Simon
is what
was
he did.
smoking. He took the last drag of a cigarette, threw it outside, which is littering, threw it outside the car, pushed the man's hand out really slowly, and then did the window up.
I thought you were going to say Simon flipped his ashtray.
He's just so calm and collected.
Oh,
this guy's
man.
like shaking his hand, shouting at us in French. Simon just didn't say a word, just pushed it out of the window and did the button up. I just stared at
Look at
him.
it work in like a murder situation. If Simon was about to get murdered, I'm going to stab you. And Simon's like,
It was
has-
Simon,
yeah,
yes.
he has a lot-
Don't leave it
a lot of charisma. Silent charisma.
Oh man, so funny. Okay, what do you think is going to happen with CrossFit then?
I think it's going to be, like you say, a body come together. So I think what's going to happen is, I think Glassman is going to have to step down at some point. I think they're going to.
What do you mean financially?
Yeah, just trying to sell the company.
Okay.
I think that's where they're going to have to go. If not the CrossFit brand itself, is probably going to going to suffer a massive loss. You only said how many affiliates you said went?
Something like 1,300 unaffiliated out of
Which-
13,000.
And that's why I'm like, man, like this is the community breaking down because of HQ's stance.
Well, it's 10%, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the pressure will continue until he
1,600 now, isn't it?
maybe I don't know.
I don't know what the numbers
I
are
think
now.
I saw Team Richie's video the other day. I thought it was
I
1,600.
think he will end up having to give his company away.
I think it'd be the wise thing to do as well. I think if he was a somewhat decent bloke now that really was sorry, in terms of decent bloke enough to be sorry,
Yeah.
not a decent bloke because right now he hasn't been that. To say, look, this is me being sorry. I'm giving my company away. Let's be honest. He's sorted now for life. He ain't got to worry about it unless there's greed that takes over. He ain't got to worry about anything now. He's sorted. Apart from obviously his popularity right now.
I don't know if you heard on the morning chalk up there saying like his persona and personality is someone that isn't going to give that up. He's going to white knuckle that company into the ground. That's just the way that he is. But in their opinion,
But then is CrossFit
and they
going to
work
die
with
then?
him.
Is CrossFit sport going to stop? Is it going to disappear?
I
Can you
think-
imagine?
I think that it will.
Oh, we
If
do.
he doesn't, it will have to be.
But then
will
does
talk
it?
about-
I do. Just imagine this is blank.
How will you introduce yourself to everyone who doesn't care?
Yeah, exactly, guys. I don't think you know what I do. I don't look in shape, so it's not working.
Back to the vegan bandwagon.
We're back.
But like, well, in that case, then is it a good thing? Or are you like, do you know what? Everyone's attach yourselves, let it run into the
Do you know,
ground,
I
and
don't
then
think
let
anyone
it,
can answer that.
and then
I think it's
take
chaos.
it back, then reclaim it. Once Greg
Work
Glassman's
out.
gone, then do we reclaim it and then build it up again? It's almost like too far gone. It's beyond a brand now.
But
It's beyond a
okay,
sport. It's become language.
Why can't we or whoever they?
Yeah.
Why can't they just pick up every single aspect of good and create a new thing that everyone follows? Doesn't mean you won't do anything different.
But what would you call it, man?
Community fitness.
No, let's go back to it. I want to know. What would you call it?
Yeah,
Every
what
time
do you
think
call
about
it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Fire, spitball.
The other thing with functional fitness, and you'll know from like before getting into CrossFit, functional fitness in personal training world, you were like, oh, it was like someone standing on one leg on a Bosu ball, like waving a kettlebell around in the air,
That's
singing
CrossFit,
Kumbaya.
man. That's CrossFit.
But that's my worry is like, right, you call it functional fitness, and then it like digs itself a grave where everyone who disagrees with it, like, yeah, we said functional fitness was nonsense the whole time. Functional fitness already exists, and it is people standing in a Bozu ball with one leg, waving a kettlebell around the arm.
Bet they're sick at their functional fitness.
They're so good at.
Matt Fraser's like, that was his secret.
Yeah.
He's like,
Shit.
don't look,
Raven,
don't look, Mum.
Raven the CrossFit flag.
I truly think that CrossFit will survive this, and it will be CrossFit.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think Glassman will be gone. And if anything, the longer he stays in, the more is being dragged out to make and tarnish him. I think that he needs to cut his losses ASAP.
I foresee more of like a Me Too movement with now that's opened the gates, and I think it's right for that to come out. Like, this needs to now be talked about as well. While CrossFit is addressing the things that, because otherwise, if you have and I don't mean this just from the like, we want these athletes in it, and that's why we should address it. Like Annie Thorisdottir and Sarah Sigmundsdottir, I'm pretty sure she said something about it today as well. But
I think
it shouldn't be addressed like, oh, we need them back in, therefore we should address. But it's like, actually, it's really important. These people are talking about it. It's raising. That's how I knew about this, because I saw their post and I then listened to the podcast. Yeah, it's like, right, okay, this is a really key issue. If like these represent the women in CrossFit, which is 50% of CrossFit. I don't actually know what that figure is, but this definitely needs to be approached. So they'll need to approach this next, which will become another big thing. And in that time, CrossFit needs to restructure itself, but it needs to position itself on the right side of history, like you said earlier.
You're talking about, I think, CrossFit as a game still. I think we need to go further back and go to the gyms and say, like, I don't know, my mum, who, you know, a woman of her age, should we say, she's training, but she would follow a CrossFit methodology under a CrossFit brand. I think you go back right to the affiliates as a company rather than going. I think use influencers to say, look, they are what pushed the CrossFit brand out, should we say? I think we're still talking lots about the CrossFit as the elite, and I think it's way more than that now. I think
it affects.
But I think the elite represent. So, like, talking
they
about...
have a big weight to their voice.
Yeah,
and they represent...
Because everyone looks like Ronaldo, look at Messi and they think football, don't they? They think, okay, that's great, use them as a building platform again. The people that you want to, you know, come through the ranks, they idolise that, but I think you need to tackle it from the bottom to build it up to the top, but use the top to influence the bottom.
But this isn't just...
The
problem doesn't just exist in CrossFit. It exists...
Every sport.
Not even that, in large companies. You know, like it's in anywhere where a person of perceived power can exert that on people, they do, and I don't think it's just in CrossFit. I just feel like it's being played out through CrossFit. I think that archetype of Glassman being a CEO, sole ownership company, having loads of power, or Weinstein that we talked about owning pretty much Hollywood. He would say to people, if you speak out against me, your career is over, and use fear to direct that. And I feel that isn't just happening in CrossFit. And we know it's not happening just in CrossFit, but I feel like it's being played out now. And those behaviours that happen in many companies.
But then we're looking at people at a similar sort of age as well. Like, are we looking at a similar sort of age thing? So is it something that we just have to hold on to by the the nuts and crannies and hold it all together tight and just say, we as a community are going to pull this through until opposite change happens?
It won't happen if the beneficiary is Greg Glassman. So,
out of interest, what were you saying about what was your point about the comparison to Harvey Weinstein?
Allegedly in the podcast that the guy was talking about today, and I think it's Andy Stamp. He's an old... he used to work for CrossFit, and he left, and he talked about the things. Yeah, he was previously Navy SEAL. He talked about the things that he saw when he was there, and Greg Glassman would, according to him, would book hotel rooms with females when they go travelling, but there's only one bed, and use that kind of power and cut people out. I mean, the man was so egotistical that he referred to Reebok as the shoe money. Right? So, and that's a massive company that's far outlived his in term. Well, could do if it crashes and burns. And the man's arrogance is he's like mocking them openly. So I think, and the comparable element to Weinstein is Weinstein was in a position of power.
But how does that relate to what we're talking about now? So are you saying that we should disregard it because this is going to happen anyway with a CEO?
No, I'm not saying it's just. I'm saying that what has happened there is that he's obviously been trialed for his the things that he did, and
Greg Glassman.
No,
Harvey
Weinstein.
Okay.
And that is obviously wrong and has been addressed. Yeah. And I feel like people spoke out after a certain while. I think the racist tweet that he put out has obviously has offended the whole community, and now other people are starting to come forward with other aspects to his past that are going to further tarnish his legacy. And I think that the response to that is either that the brand will survive, and if he lets go of it, I think the brand can survive.
I wonder if there's a law out there like a brand itself, something so powerful can go against the owner. I wonder if there's anything out there as such.
If you have a board of directors, it can.
Yeah.
I thought when you had a company big enough that it had to have a board of directors.
Or a certain turnover or something.
Yeah. I don't know, but
Imagine Barclays were just like
one guy
came out with this massive racist statement, and then you were like, "Well, what can we do? Because this guy that will never be able to happen."
But I think, as much as other banks would be
Do you
against
know what I mean?
it, yeah. But I
Oh
think
my God.
also there's lots of people that want to go against CrossFit as a methodology as well, like within the fitness industry. I think they like that, like CrossFit has.
That's the issue, and unless the community stay together,
Yeah.
it's gonna be really easy to fracture.
Yeah, definitely.
The community is still together in terms of everyone disagreeing with him. I don't think you would speak up if you agree, would you?
No,
I
but
don't think
Okay, if you have the open though, if you follow like what you were saying earlier, and you're following, I don't know, Rich starts something called Mayhem Fit, and then do you still have an open? And then if the open, who does that belong to?
What currently? Oh,
Well,
yeah.
no, but then
Yeah.
what? And then what about the
But
games?
aren't the
And what
games-
about the
aren't-
sanctionals and the
I don't-
regionals?
I
That
might
seems
be-
so
I might be
integral
really
to the
stupid
culture
right
of
now, but
CrossFit.
Aren't CrossFit Games and CrossFit two separate enterprises, two separate
So it's
businesses?
two separate companies, but
I'm imagining they still sit under Greg Glassman.
yeah, he owns
Well,
both
of course,
them.
it lines his pocket. He's getting a massive payout from both, whatever the situation is. But in terms of, I think the Opens has people like, for example, Castro, but he has people working with him. Like he has his test team, he has his team of marketing, he has his team and stuff like that. So Castro has his team doing that as well in terms of Reebok. So now are we looking at, does Castro, if Glassman left and Castro owned it, or would he own it all of it, like the games as well?
I think it's good that CrossFit own the CrossFit Games, but and this is what I mean. It now gives space for other things, and I like that
dilutes
Rogue
it.
have done it.
Oh, I
right,
love it.
but Rogue do it, and then Reebok do their own games, and it's like, wow, we lost that
And
thing
then-
that kept us all
yeah,
in the same
and
boat.
then they start not using the methodology. In you've got like Boso ball, one-legged kettlebell, max holds, and it
But
becomes
could you argue
gimmicky.
that? Could you argue that that's not a good thing though? Like,
I agree. I think it's not. I think it's
You
not
do,
good,
yeah.
and that's why I think that we need to. I think either CrossFit need to come out with they need to come forward and say we recognise these comments were racist, or we recognise that, and then with what likely is going to come forward, we recognise these behaviours was unacceptable, whatever it is to come out, not even unacceptable if they're sexist or everything else that comes out. So they need to do that, they need to try and unify, or what needs to happen is they sell CrossFit to like Rogue, and they keep the structure of it the same, but it becomes something else. Rogue own it, they appoint a board of hopefully affiliates, so I'd be like, right, Froning and maybe some of the coaches or some of the more prominent affiliates who are grassroots. That's where they're from, and then appoint them to run it with the financial backing of something like Rogue under the Rogue brand, and be able to still call it CrossFit.
Yeah, that's the ideal, isn't it?
I mean, that would be the best situation, wouldn't it? Like giving it to such a big influential company who,
Even if everybody agrees that the Rogue Games become the CrossFit Games, and we just call it the
yes,
Rogue Games.
that's what I mean. If we could all agree,
just change the language, I'm happy to that.
Would you say you're a Rogue fitness athlete then?
Yeah.
A
I
rogue.
would love to say that I was a pro fitness
I'm
athlete.
going rogue.
Where's all my
Oh,
rogue stuff?
yeah, man. I'm a
Damn.
roger.
Yeah. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm off
Look,
rogue.
how many minutes, mate? Come home, Lou. You're drunk.
Yeah, no, that would be it. Someone like a company that had some moral standards and a board, and
Even if
could
Nike,
continue
man,
it.
even if Nike just took,
I mean, Nike could
let's be honest, it's going to happen.
what?
Nike are going to be, well, it would have been the Nike Games next, wouldn't it, rather than the Reebok?
Oh yeah, that annoyed me. You know when Reebok were like,
Very
"Oh
clever
no,
marketing
we're
that
out. We're not going to negotiate with them because of what Greg Glassman said. They were never going to renew with Reebok because they couldn't afford to. Nike were going to smash them out the water. I mean, Nike probably won't touch them now because you know. It's
But would
ruined,
you not? I would, if I was Nike, I'd be like, right, let's get the deal button. We got to have a massive influence on what's going to happen here.
Would you
Nike-
hit the deal button though? Because then everyone's like,
Nike-
"Hey, you're back in CrossFit," and they haven't made the changes that they need to.
Nike couldn't do that.
That's
too much
what
of a risk.
Reebok did, which
Surely-
was clever.
Okay, if I don't know, this,
And
is,
they-
this,
and
is
they-
me,
yeah.
this is me wishing I'd really like the ideal world. If Nike said, okay, we're going to go in, but we want this change, and went in there saying, it's freaking dance, this change, we would strike a deal with you. We want to have a board of directors on the panel as well.
Or you know, even if they own like 50% instead of paying for it.
Yeah, maybe that's something they go down a massive sponsorship in terms of, well, not sponsorship, a massive split the company. So we will own part of this company and become the board of
But
directors.
that's, I mean, Rogue would be the dream for that.
Rogue and Nike.
In your
Why
way.
not? Why not?
Because Rogue got a little power, do they? Oh, they do a little bit of power. I don't know. Nike's. I like Nike.
So he's Nike. Like
Yeah.
as much as I'm Dave Castro. He's probably Nike.
Yeah.
I think Nike's sick, man.
And I'm as
Got a
anti-community
Nike
fitness.
tattoo here.
Yeah. A Mike tattoo.
Yeah. I
I'm
am.
talking about your chest, man. I'm talking about your chest.
I'm 100%.
Do you know Ryan's called Mr. Long Chest? Long Chest.
I decided that I've got a long chest. No one else.
What is a long chest?
I think I've got a long chest from here to here.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It just
It's
looks
a long
long.
chest.
What?
I thought it
It's
was
a small
long.
body
He
with a
thinks
long
it's the best
chest.
thing ever in the world. He's probably got a longer chest. I can't wait to off camera.
How do you measure so? We measure
Just from
nipples.
clavicle to nipple. I reckon you've got a longer chest. It's certainly
Yeah,
longer.
well, proportionally, we have to work a proportion of the body though.
No.
Yeah, we
just
do.
go chest
No,
volume.
yeah, but you-
That's it.
No, I get that. You've got to almost
Yeah,
be
yeah,
relative to the height.
Yeah, no, I thought that he'd
Long
been that
chest.
from short.
What is long chest mean? Like you've got
chest.
more pectoral
I
muscle.
think I felt long here. Like, of the whole of my body, it looked longer here.
That says
Now
so
just-
much
now
about
just-
the whole of
Now
your
just think of a
body.
pear.
Oh, it's about that big. And there's like a long chest. The chest is the same length.
You know when you draw as a kid, you draw at school.
But no, actually, it's better than that. It's, you know, when you fold a piece of paper down and other people draw.
Oh, I love that
so
game.
I draw the head, you draw a really long chest. He draws the legs and body. That's what it looks like. I
Oh, long chest.
Ryan Long
That's
Chest.
what,
It's like a pirate.
you keep calling me long chest silver.
Have you seen his shoes?
Yeah.
With the zip.
We did a 10-second countdown. Who get shoes in 10 seconds?
You
He
could do
failed.
it if I tried.
He failed.
Ollie get his shoes on faster than you though.
Again, I'm not falling.
I mean, I'm breaking all rules.
Oh, that's cool.
Sliders.
They
But I'm
still work.
also double branding here. Oh, shit.
It's only Webster
No,
listening.
he's
those.
wearing socks and
Yeah,
sliders.
no,
Fucking
yeah.
loser.
That's mad.
Um,
It's like 150 kilos as well.
Yeah. Oh man.
It was so mad.
I'm like, that must be his trick. If he didn't have those on, he wouldn't hit it.
we were on to a really good point a second ago, and then long chest silver came in.
Your long chest. You were saying that
About road
No.
games.
Nike. We were talking about Nike taking over,
Yeah.
And road games.
and the Rogue. You were like, Rogue would be wicked if they took over.
And he just fanboyed Nike. Yeah, someone that so they can continue to call it the sport of CrossFit or the methodology, whatever. But a brand that people trusted and.
What do you see? Being a organizer and head of Pick It Up, Put It Down, as I say, it's not a company as such, but it's a recognised charity.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's a recognised charity.
We're a community organisation, but
Yeah. Where would you go down? I mean, yeah, obviously, it's a charity, but where would you go down if something massively drastically happened bad at Pick It Up, Put It Down? What route would you go down in terms of you took yourself away from it?
Sorry, if something drastically bad happened to Pick It Up, Put It Down, what would I do?
How would you build up the brand again, or where where would you go in terms of you put yourself? I can't say put yourself in Greg Glassman's shoes. That's a completely wrong thing to say.
If I fucked up, what would I do?
What would you do?
Because Pick It Up, Put It Down for me is about its history and its purpose. If I trusted someone enough, I would just step back and let them roll. Ryan's like, I am Dave Castro. I'd be like, you need to run with that.
Long
But
chest
I also get why, and that's why I sort of was like, right, let's play devil's advocate. The methodology may be misused and that could tarnish the name.
Yeah.
I also get if Greg Glassman really believes in what he started, and obviously what he started is a good thing, then it's like, actually, if he genuinely thinks no one else can do it as well as him, which is arguable because actually the affiliates have been doing it incredibly well, use the methodology
Did
and
Greg
then make
Glassman
it...
set up the community though? Or did the community develop itself from being the affiliates?
He's the methodology, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's
So
like,
it's not the community though.
but he believes he's the crux of it, and without him, if he believes without him it would suffer, I can see why he's like, I've got to stay. No one else, much as he loves Dave Castro, no one else can.
I think part of
And
him
Dave
still
Castro's
thinks-
there, but Greg Glassman's having dinner with Dave Castro and being like,
100%.
"Hey, dude, you did this. Not sure
with
about
my
that."
company.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You were saying to me before that you think Greg Glassman has been way more of like the community side than the sports side of it.
He doesn't like the sports side as much as he felt that it was people would, if the sport became so interesting to watch for the 1% of the athletes that do it, that people would be sitting down on their sofas watching it. And what he would rather is the sport wasn't as big as it was, and that people were going down to their local affiliates and joining the community and fighting chronic disease by being fitter and healthier.
Do you agree with that?
Do
you think that? I mean, do you think that people watch football therefore they don't play?
Yeah, people watch football.
No, man.
People watch football and they are
have you
massively
seen
out
some
of
of the
shape.
people watch
No, but do you
They
think
go
as
to
many
football.
people would play football if there wasn't a Premier League? If there
No.
wasn't, right?
No, it does inspire.
So it
people.
definitely
Yeah,
serves
no,
a
I know
purpose.
I'm not saying his point was correct.
Okay.
I
You can
do-
also go down. I mean, this is on a tangent. Are you saying about chronic disease? Glassman always attacked loads of other companies. He always went in on other companies, and I don't feel that is a community thing to do. So
I think his idea is that there are companies misleading information, whether it's nutrition or health information, and that, you know, in America it's so corrupt where, globally it's corrupt where you can buy scientists to produce a paper that
Just
gives
going
you
out
the
there.
evidence that you want.
Have you seen the big influencer right now on Instagram? I'm not putting a name up there, but putting about the skinny jab on. 100,000 people are like photos.
Kerry Katona.
No, it's what's it? GC. What's his name? Jim
I
Collins.
don't know who he is. Oh, is that
Yeah,
100,000 people, 100,000 likes for that skinny jab.
that's mad.
Mad.
Kerry Katona did a live on it. I thought that was mad. It's like
Well,
they were
she-
like, if you've got any questions about the medical nature of the skinny jab, ask Kerry Katona.
She got
What? You're like,
amazing.
yeah.
I think that is so great.
Like what?
I don't understand what is a skinny jab.
I
The
don't actually know them. I looked at it and went, bullshit.
do you know there are things that you can inject which affect
It's
appetite
thyroid, isn't it, as well?
and what's
Suppresses
that?
Isn't it thyroid based as well?
I don't know enough about the skinny jab,
No, nor do I, but I just
there-
think it's
I mean,
mad.
sound shit.
but the problem is it offers it firstly offers a solution to something without addressing the cause of something.
Yeah.
And there's not enough data on the efficacy of it.
I'm
And
sure
also,
it's like steroids, isn't it?
Which
at the end of
is,
the day?
to be fair to Greg Glassman, the shit that he used to attack and spend all of the profits from CrossFit on.
Yeah, too fair. I just
he
did
does
exactly what
that.
he would do.
Yeah, he
My
does.
bad.
What's that?
I thought of a question which I went back onto and did it myself.
all right.
He does that exact thing, and that is where I would lend credit to him. But as a person, or in that regards, his behaviours are admirable, and he does it vigorously and aggressively and against the normal grain, because a lot of people kind of that have been, allowed him to do the monstrous things that he's being accused of now. A lot of people just take their slice of that pie, or take golden handcuffs, or non-disclosure agreements, or pay scientists to do an experiment which gives their product a favourable result to fitness or whatever, and then that then becomes public information, and it's misinformation, and he vigorously fights that. So I think that that part of him, or part of his ego, has been great because it's fresh. It's
Was
not
that
something
all
that
of him?
normally
Do you
happens.
reckon that's all of him? Do you reckon that's his?
Yeah, I think he wants to take down companies like Coca-Cola, and like I think he thinks he can do that. I mean, he's.
But he's like, I think the problem he's had, he's got this god complex of where he started
Yeah.
something really good, and then he believes that he's the authority on everything.
Yeah.
But what on a like balance to that, in that podcast, the guy says, actually, a lot of CrossFit's success isn't down to Greg Glassman.
Yeah.
It's the people that he surrounded himself with. And I do think it takes a really wise person to surround themselves with people, or an intelligent person who surrounds himself with people who are, what's that?
That's a Dave Castro.
But, so, now this is what worries me, because Greg Glassman has come out with, I remember seeing a lecture that he did, and it was basically that like carbohydrates are the root of obesity.
Complicated carbohydrates.
Pardon?
Uh,
Complex carbs.
Complex carbs, yeah.
No, I think maybe you're thinking.
He wasn't on about. He only ever talks about sugar and.
Even sugar, though. Even the argument that sugar is the root cause of obesity is incredibly debatable.
Yeah, I agree.
So much so that I would say it's wrong.
Okay.
But and we could do a whole talk on that.
I'm sorry, we're going.
Stepan Guéné, man, he's like the knowledge bomb on this. Right, sugar is not it's not getting away with this without being like, okay, it plays a part in an obesity epidemic.
Yeah.
But when we point the finger at that and we put the torch on that, we then miss where the light shines on everything else.
Yeah.
And there's so many other facets to that.
Massively.
But because Greg Glassman, like, he believes, it panders to his ego to solidify a belief on something, such as sugar is the devil, and then he can go, right, I believe this, therefore I will fight for this.
Yeah.
And we go, okay, that's quite a moral stance or a virtuous thing to do. Surely the more virtuous thing to do is to take, number one, advice from people who really do know about that stuff. And number two, or educate yourself enough to recognise that what you're saying is a big what's it when you sort of suggest people in the past? Misconception, misdirection. Yeah, or you're not giving people the broad enough. But when you simplify it to something like sugar is the devil, you can stand up on stage and say sugar is the devil and then put yourself as this virtuous, I'm fighting for... But because he started to do that with loads of things, it was like, what worries me is that, one, either that no one has a voice to challenge him, or the people around him actually agree with what he's saying. And then it's like, okay, we need to address... I don't even know how I got onto this point.
We're talking about things that he did. Oh no!
Go.
You like my lights come on, by the way.
Do you know what?
There's a
I
really
like
good
that.
point.
Did you do that?
No,
No,
mate,
I was
solar
gonna-
panel. I was going to shout out because behind me it looks
Yeah,
pretty.
there's such a good point coming out. I was like, I can't say anything. It's like, pow!
Yeah, I know. Look at my lights. Like... No, so we were saying about
I'm gonna have the wine to speak to him.
Do you want another beer?
we're talking about how.
Do you want another beer?
No, I'm okay. I'm driving home. Are you saying you're never got drink driving? FortiorFit just says drink driving.
Well. It's all proportional body size.
A long chest.
Yeah, my chest can take it, but the rest of me can't.
Chest. It's pectoral.
Yeah,
Hard
no,
balls, I know, pretend it didn't exist.
we're talking about the good that he has done, or the perceived good.
Sorry, that was it. And I think it's just a case of like, is the good that he thought he was doing that good? And if
Depends,
you
'cause
really take a
none of us
virtuous
have
person,
researched that.
then form. What do you mean?
Well, none of us have looked at particular things that they've done. The only things that I know of that is
What has he brought down as such? What has he changed influence that he has been that we all know though?
Well, they've said things, claims about. He has said things, and so has they've got like scientists or people that have previously worked for these companies who are now not in contact with them, and then he's offered them a platform to speak about that what they've done within those companies. But he has made claims against these companies. They've tried to sue them, and then he has won the lawsuits. They've had to either pay out of court or retract what they were counter-suing for, whatever. And that is, in his mind, a like a progression into educating people or educating the masses on the mistrust that has gone on so far. You know, companies like Coca-Cola will sell their products on a feeling rather than. I can hear that feedback now.
I don't know what headphones turn themselves up. So
Oh, can you hear them? And they're like, all I can hear is
they've got so
just put them in your. Put them in your.
Don't let me forget.
Put them in your head.
No, I can just hear you guys really loudly.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
I put them in your pocket, just away
Same
from
on that.
this. I can just hear like a tiny chested man
No, whoa.
in the background.
Oh, long chest.
You can't get them.
Oh,
They're fake anyway, so it doesn't matter.
They don't exist
They don't
anymore.
exist.
When you go home, you draw me a long chest right again.
They're basically made of cheese.
With a one line, you
I'm-
can't take your pen and
Wait,
paper.
I wish I had my phone so that I could Google the picture of us.
can't get
I bet
it,
you your
where's
chest is longer than mine, and I can't wait to find out.
When's this? Oh,
You know we went to Tribal Clash?
I've got a picture inside.
Anyone listening to this, go to the Instagram and look. Go to the Instagram. Fuck.
Right, Grandad.
No. Go to Instagram and look at
A long
Tribal
dress
Clash
silver.
pictures of me and Ollie, and we'll do a debate.
skip that
on
goes straight
who's
to
got-
Ryko's Instagram.
Yeah, who's got the biggest
Unfollow.
chest?
Just unlike.
Chest.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't know where we are now.
No,
I just an image of a pirate with a big chest and something.
it's really long chested. Just open
You do
it
look
up.
really
There's
good though.
loads of treasure
Like, you
in
got
there.
some like Jack Sparrow hair going on in this
I
image.
wish I had.
Oh, man. Look at the long chest. It's so funny.
I can't wait until you're disproved.
Hey, like, okay, right, back on point. You see, like, I thought it was really interesting how Castro comes out and said, like, we might be having Rich Froning program next year. Rich Froning's like, that would be cool, but
Yeah, I know
don't
nothing about it.
Imagine if we were like, yeah, so pick it up, put it down, we might have Rich Froning next year.
Yeah.
So, it's like, no,
That's
Rich
a
is like,
massive,
I
like, shine a
don't-
torch over here. Stop looking.
Yeah,
at this.
right.
Isn't it? Like, this is just.
Pardon?
Yeah, that's.
I thought it was really cool of Rich to not only be one of the first people to sort of really speak about it, but then even in the end of that, he was respectful. Like, look, that would be really cool, but I think there are issues we need to address first.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, wicked. He took that focus and was like, back on you
Yeah.
guys.
Here's your torch. Yeah.
I just generally think it needs some more time. People outing everything. It's come. I think he's come out clean. I think like it's like always going. I don't know why it's easy to go back to the Weinstein situation, but everyone outed him. Weinstein, whatever.
I don't know his name.
Harvey.
Harvey's long
yeah.
chest.
Harvey long chest. I just think if everything gets put in the open, I think this is going to make it easier. Because what's going to happen is if it goes okay, fine, all sorted now. Glassman was a prick, needs to sort his shit out, etc. And then everything's forgotten about, and then something else comes back like the woodworks. It's just going to go back to square one.
Yeah, man.
It needs to be aired. Everything needs to be aired.
Yeah.
I don't think anything can be sorted until everything's aired. Like the athletes right now, there's no games as such. The biggest thing right now is road games, which is awesome, but then obviously we're stuck in a COVID lockdown sort of situation still.
By the way, though, have you seen that? They have.
I watched a really little bit today.
Like for any other online competition, Rogue do it all the time. They throw really good competitions, but the way they set it up is still exciting to watch.
Awesome.
And you'd imagine that watching loads of streams of people in their gyms would be boring. Anything.
What have they done to make it like that?
So you have 10 athletes going at a time. The workouts are really well written by Josh Bridges and Chris Feeler. And they've still got the leadership ticker board tape at the top, where you can see where people are. The only thing that is lost from it kind of is a different aspect to it. So previously at the games, you can see athletes next to you. You can push as hard as they are, or you can push other athletes. In this one, Sam Briggs didn't know that she was winning, and everyone else. The workout was you had 5 minutes to do 50 snatches, and then the quicker you do that, the more rest time you had. And after 5 minutes, it became an EMOM of 11 snatches, and then it increased by rep every minute until the last person standing. The reason they did the 50 snatches as fast as possible at the beginning, that became your tiebreaker.
Right.
So anyway,
Weight increments went up, didn't it?
No, the weight stayed the same. So they did. So Sam Briggs, as an example, did 50 snatches, rested for the rest of the 5 minutes, and so did everyone else. And then they all went 11 reps for the first minute, 12, 13, and so on as they go through. She got to the point where everyone else had stopped, and she was still, and we've all done EMOMs and they're fucking disgusting. She was still repping out. I think she did 211 snatches, and she was just repping them out because she doesn't know where everyone else is. And that is the difference between, you've got people like Sarah Signal daughter who would...
Sure, that's going to influence her game in the next two 3 stages.
I think it makes a huge difference because it's now you're on your own in your own gym. You can't see anyone else. You can't see what anyone else is doing. You don't know where you are.
Fatigue going to set her harder than it would for someone else as well. So, like, the argument is, like, it's like when you're getting football, it's like, I'm going to kick in that goal. I'm going to get one more goal then. But you wouldn't keep scoring the same goal over and over again, would you? To try and get the points up if you just need to get one more goal, unless you need aggregates.
Yeah. If she was in that environment and she saw everyone else to stop, she wouldn't be continuing. But that's my.
Who was second to her? What was the score next to her?
Oh, it was pretty close. I can't remember who it was. It could have been Cara Saunders. It was pretty close in regards to, they were like 180, I think 190 reps. But she was like a full 2 minutes continuing on. Everyone else had stopped. But that happened in the men's as well with Pat Vellner. He did the same thing.
Paddy B.
Yeah. So he doesn't know where anyone else is. So he just goes as hard as he can, and that I think is a completely different element to testing people's fitness. I think that's because strategy-wise, that's fucking himself.
It's a mental game, I think it's a massive mental game. It takes a huge like a mentality to be in your own company. I mean, obviously you've got people around you and such, like your
just to judge a stream. And then that athlete, there's no one else there.
I reckon the mental game for you must be well strong.
But
man.
Yeah.
They definitely test that more. How have they made it work with the time zones?
Well, they haven't. They've just gone, we're starting at this time. Cara Saunders has had to get up at 12 o'clock in the morning, and then her first event was at 12, and then she went all the way through till 7 in the morning. And
bless her.
She's got a young child as well, a year old, so she's still breastfeeding, I think. So there's that, and then you got Sam Briggs, obviously slightly delayed, and then as you work closer to America, it makes it easier for you. But yeah,
whoa!
Imagine having to get. Actually,
international pick it up or down.
I saw on Cara's Instagram that she did the first workout, and then they had a mattress on the floor and stuff like that at the gym, and she just got into bed and went to sleep between events. I mean, she'd be more recovered than the other athletes. But imagine,
that's proper mess up of your.
As your.
That's crazy.
Mm.
Like, how do you even manage like your nutrition and stuff in that example?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
We used to have the backwards. You used to be back, didn't you? Literally start your day backwards, didn't you?
How long do they have the heads up for the timings?
What, the events?
Yeah.
They must know.
They've released the events and all the timings.
They must have set up everything beforehand.
Yeah.
But I don't know, and I haven't watched much of it. I just saw it in fleeting. But when you can see, if you do a workout and after Ollie's done it, and you therefore have a target of what he's achieved, it makes it much easier, doesn't it, to reach that target? Maybe not, but the heat. You
can visualise it, can't you?
Yeah, but you can almost strategize with it. You go, okay, well, I can spend this longer in this part, and then I can gas it at the end. When Heat 2 all got to see 10 athletes try different techniques. The last heats always have an advantage on the others, don't they? That's why I always put the better athletes at the end, because you get all the good, like at the top of the leaderboard, and you have all those athletes going at the same time, rather than let's say Matt Fraser's first and he goes in the first heat. You see what his score is in your second. You just know what you need to be. Whereas if you're going at the same time, it's then just putting max effort. But you can literally watch the stream, and then 10 minutes later you have to do that workout. But I don't know whether they're changing, whether they stuck to that heat because of the time differences, and you're always heat 1 or heat 2. But I think that gives heat 2 a massive advantage on heat 1. Whether they're adjusting it to the leaderboard, and it's only day 1.
That's what I mean.
Surely they wouldn't adjust it to the leaderboard. So like what?
You should do.
I don't know, unless you can watch it. Yeah, I suppose.
Because you're still going to be up for that time, aren't you?
Is it live stream as well?
Yeah.
Is it 3 days?
I think 2.
Okay.
Might be 3. I don't know.
It was 2 last year, wasn't it?
So, but last year was
so cool, man. Like send everyone out their kit and
yeah. Oh, amazing! Imagine just a road kit turning up.
Imagine a cargo unit just a
kit. Man, like, that'd be so cool.
I love that.
Is that George's in it?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. No, it's only 20 athletes of each.
Oh, he was just out, wasn't he?
No, this is for the games you're thinking of. This,
yeah, he just
not for Rogue.
Yeah, but how did the athletes get?
I don't know if it's invitational because it's called the invitational.
So it
Or-
was invitational.
Yeah, but I don't know if they have to qualify for it.
I think there's qualifiers.
No, there's now qualify for Rich Froning's one, which he's
okay,
running
I might mix up then.
the day the Rogue one ends because he didn't.
I
Want
thought it was
to
the day the CrossFit Games one then.
No, the Rogue one. Oh no,
There we
CrossFit
go.
one.
There's
Yeah,
a
sorry,
step.
you're
There's
right.
a step to what you said about different branches branching out.
Oh yeah, him owning the team one. I can see that happening. Mayhem Fitness from now on owns the team.
Well, there we go.
Well, it doesn't even have to own it. Just runs
How
it.
mad is that?
But it's like if
Yeah.
Ollie sets up Pick It Up, Put It Down 2 and has loads of famous athletes turn up and loads of traction goes to him and he makes Pick It Up, Put It Down has nothing, has no event, no one wants to do it, no one wants to go to it, makes no money. That's the way to get ownership of CrossFit away from not Dave Castro.
But if just Rogue do it, if Nike do theirs and Rogue do it,
yeah.
and then Reebok and
And that can be a conscious. You can follow athletes because athletes seem to.
I'm trying to
praising.
think of like a Ironman or such, or something where there's multiple disciplines within the sport. Like, has there been anything like it done before? Like,
you said it with decathlon, didn't you?
yeah, decathlon. Obviously, they have different companies that run it and such. I'm sure. Like,
But it's
then
still
the
it's
Olympic Games.
Too many beers. Is that it's the same exercises?
Yeah.
Every time, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, what
That is
happens
true,
is
yeah.
if Rogue take it and then they go, right, okay, we're not going to do any gymnastics anymore. CrossFit to us means this, and then Nike go, well, we think gymnastics is a big part of it. We're going to have that, but we're not going to have any swimming
But
involved.
you can't take the methodology. You can't change the methodology now, can you?
You can.
You
You can
can't.
do it. You can.
Not
if you
CrossFit
want-
methodology.
No, but you can if it becomes loads of fractious events and they're all trying different things to do different things. It can water it down and
But
dilute
then
it.
who's the best?
No one, but the
Yeah.
CrossFit community won't follow that. If you remove gymnastics,
Yeah.
it makes it very easy for the community to stay together because they will go with the people who are still broad.
Follow that. Yeah.
So it screams, doesn't it? You need CrossFit to remain the beacon that it is for the community, but people to get behind that beacon, which they want, it needs to really position itself as behind the values of the affiliates and the athletes. The athletes being the elite athletes, but also the athletes of which we all are, as in we commit to CrossFit regularly.
I mean, without the community, the 1% athletes wouldn't have sponsorship, wouldn't have any money.
You walk into Dave Castro's. No, sorry, Greg. I look at you and I'm like, Dave Castro.
Yeah, good.
You walk
I like
into
that connotation rather than the latter.
You walk into Greg. I look at you and I'm like, long-chested Greg Glassman. You walk into Greg Glassman's office and you're like, hey, dude, this is what you need to do. What do you say? Actually, he doesn't have an office now, but he's in the corner of Dave Castro's office.
To the camera, do not fuck this up.
Yeah, and
He's holding a transcript for Dave.
yeah. Maybe Dave Castro is Greg Glassman. Maybe that's the
Do you not
conspiracy.
see that meme? Someone said
It's like Men in Black.
CrossFitters when Dave Castro's revealed as CEO, and it's just like this man who just rips his face off and it's him in there again. Oh, it's still Greg Glassman.
So what would
thing
you
is,
do?
they keep saying puppet, don't they? Yeah.
What would I say to him? He's really fucked up. No, I'd say.
As a suggestion, you're an advisor. To...
As like a business advisor
Yeah.
to him. It depends what
Take what
he
you've got
it
and
depends.
leave.
It depends.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
right.
depends what he wants his methodology and business to become. If he wants it to thrive and he wants it to do the good that he set out to do, then the best thing to do is for him to remove himself from it and ownership and give that to someone else to allow that vehicle to steam train on. That's up to him.
Do we know anyone that's come back from a shit situation? Do you know any big influence, big celebrity, big someone, big?
Yeah,
name?
man.
there's
Like,
loads.
I'm yeah. Alan Aragon. You know Alan Aragon?
Rings a bell.
You know Alan
No
Aragon?
Lord of the
idea.
Rings.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings guy. Yeah. Go on,
No,
explain.
he's an incredibly intellectual. He's done a lot for the fitness community. He does a research review, which loads of people subscribe to, and so in like the bodybuilding world or the evidence-based nutrition world, he's huge, and he's been really good for the industry. Now, probably a year or two ago, it came out about that he was an alcoholic, and that some of the fitness events he had behaved inappropriately to women, and the industry turned on him like that. Bang. But then he has, so I'm not putting any of my subjectivity into this at all, but then you can see that he's been accepted back, perceivably, as someone who only recognises this through Instagram, really. He's been accepted back into the community. Now, I am not one, or you've done something wrong, therefore you have no place here anymore. And I think it's important, you point to things like, and as awful as this is, you point to things like Carolyn Flack, and it's like, where does it go too far? Like, we need to have a good system for justice, implement that justice, and then recognise that there's also a place for rehabilitation. And
that's my next point.
So, but yeah, sorry. So, in the example of the fitness industry, that's the only thing I can think of. Alan Aragon was held to account for the things that he did wrong. He made steps, so he obviously the things were lawfully dealt with in the right way. But he also went and did things like he went and I can't remember exactly what he did, but he went and worked with women who had suffered abuse, and he volunteered his time to work with them. And I think
my head's working right now, so I'm going down a route like, rather than saying, okay, Glassman, you fucked up. This is not me agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just going out on a tangent here. Why don't we take him into the situation of everything you've said wrong or done wrong? You put him straight in the middle of it and say, okay, this is what you did.
Yeah, man.
And you can make judgment afterwards. Then you can make judgment. You know, this is what's going on right now. This is who's affiliated with you. Send him to Rocket and say, go and stand on Rocket and see what they've done. Then you go and work with them, and then you have it out together there and then. Like,
Ollie, mate, that is it. That is the key to human progression. Is open conversation and communication.
I think people can say stuff that always be perceived wrong. I'm not agreeing with what Glassman said at all. I think it's totally wrong actually. But it's like, for example, that guy on I'm a Celebrity, or Conor Maynard's brother. I can't remember his name. But he said something, and he got removed from the jungle because he said something about.
Oh no, that was previous to he had tweeted when he was 14 years old. He tweeted something, and someone went back and looked through his Twitter past, and then he got removed from the competition or the show based on that he did 14 years ago.
I think there's proof in the pudding that people could change themselves. Like, if you're an alcoholic, if you're a drug addict, if you're a
sexual predator like
Mr. Longchest Silver, like
that's now his name. Longchest Silver in the corner of Dave Castro's room.
Like, I think if you can still, I think there is proof you can change yourself, and I think I don't know if he's too egotistic or what, whether Glassman would ever do something like that, but if there's a rehabilitation something, whether CrossFit could create a rehabilitation for the owner,
that would be better than him selling.
It would. The rehabilitation needs to be an element of it. That needs to be. He needs to demonstrate his desire to make up what he did wrong.
Say sorry first.
Yeah, he needs
to. He can prove his reasoning behind what he said, and
be like, hands up. I'm human. I'm honest, and I fucked up. But but the CrossFit's communication has been poor in the past, and that's what's pissing people off.
It's poor again now, though. If you think about it, and there's not been anything said.
No, man.
It's just been, this is what's said. We know what's been said. This is what's been said. Like,
we are doing something, but we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, we want your advice. It's like, you want your advice. It's very clear what the community wants.
Check out our dark video.
I know. The audio still be rolling. We should probably work towards wrapping it up. But I fully believe the community will grow from this, and it will move forward.
And if we're a community, surely the community could support the good, the bad, and the ugly all together. So as a community, we say, okay, we don't agree with anything that's been said.
It's on the community to hold others accountable as well.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Well, that isn't right, we don't agree with that. And that is a way that we progress as a community.
So maybe the community, we could make the fix. Maybe we, as small as we are, we could build up.
And that is done through the affiliate.
Yeah.
The affiliates aren't getting the say that they need in CrossFit HQ. No. So that needs to change so the community can come back and hold the reins on it. Dave Castro suggested that might happen.
Yeah.
I really hope it does. Greg Glassman needs to be held to account. He also needs to come forward and be very honest about the things that he said and where he recognises they're wrong. Not it come through like CrossFit Twitter, like, oh, Greg thinks this. No, Greg needs to be like, I think this, like you said, I think if he walked into Rocket and was like, "Hey guys, I'm just going to sit here and let you guys hit me heavy," then it's with their words. Then it's like, dun-dun-dun-dun, and he could be like, "Cool, bang, we can squash this and move forward." But at the moment, there's too much grey area, and I can absolutely recognise as being someone in the CrossFit community, like imagine being someone in the CrossFit community and being of an ethnic minority, and then seeing Greg Glassman's tweets and being like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Or his lack of willingness to recognise BLM, and where before they have recognised other things, and be like, "Hey man, like I really find this really tough. I would need him to come forward and be extremely specific in the things he said, what he really thinks about them, and how he chooses to address them. But not him now, but CrossFit HQ need to be incredibly specific for us to get behind that."
Yeah.
And and now women, like, hey, if the leader of HQ or the guy who's taking all the money from this has demonstrated awful behaviour towards women, you're not going to get behind that.
No. 100% agree, and I hope that that happens, and he's open to that space, because at the moment it feels like he's just distancing himself from it and hoping that it all goes away.
Yeah, I think, and he just shut himself behind someone else's eyes. And I think if I give Castro a role now, I can just edge away slowly, but still have influence.
What would you do? You walk into his office, and you're like,
I would,
"Hey, dudes."
No, now going off what we said there, I would say, okay, man, like, you fucked up, and you know you fucked up, right? Account your, be accountable for what you said. Like, if you agree with it, show me proof why you agree with it.
Yeah,
if
man.
If you don't believe in this, why don't you believe in this? Like, I want to know why. Like, there's always a reason for why, isn't there? Like, he might have been brought up to, but led to believe whatever he said was right, or whatever they're doing is wrong. But why is he believing that? Like, and then say you're accountable for that. Then go and say, okay, I'm going to fix my mistakes. So go and work with people who's upset, people who influences, but then upset. Work on that weakness. I think that's that. I generally rehab. So rather than rehab, the wrong word. Like,
No, totally get that.
yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, go and work with the shit he's dealt with. The shit he said, you should be put in the middle of it and say, heal your shit.
I think it would be really cool if the community are like, you know what? But CrossFit's legislation, we are going to start together. CrossFit, I know they have charities already, but we have a CrossFit ethical support charity. We have a CrossFit women's support charity, and we have a CrossFit.
What is a CrossFit charity that just does everything?
Yeah, and it's like, cool. We as a community are going to. Do you know what? Fuck, Greg. We're going to demonstrate to the community, the community beyond the CrossFit community, that this is not what CrossFit are. We do not get behind these things, and we will demonstrate that by beginning our own initiatives with the backing of our sport, which is CrossFit, not the brand or HQ, which is CrossFit, and be like, hey, this is who we are, this is why we're together, and this is what we're going to do moving forward.
Yeah, I think it needs to be put in the community hands now. Maybe making a community-owned company.
Man, yeah, 100%.
Sell it to the community, The £3,000 they pay, the £3,000 to go in the bucket to get spent.
That's what
like Waitrose. Like, imagine if every athlete was a shareholder.
Yeah.
CrossFit is Waitrose. Maybe Waitrose.
CrossFit is Waitrose.
CrossFit is Waitrose. The best staff ever. Anyway, any final thoughts, Ryan?
Just.
I love Dave Castro so much.
No, I don't know.
Just.
Maybe that I like his programming. I like his thought into his.
Do you reckon he gets any help that programming?
Yeah.
So what is saying someone that can't program his programs?
What?
What does it say? Someone can't program his programs.
Oh yeah, no, true. Yeah, and actually, I think that Spieler and Josh Bridges have done a brilliant job. But
he's not programming anymore, though, right?
He's not going after this games. Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah.
Keep waving to get that light on.
Oh, that light. I'm just disappointed in someone who appeared to be a good person has tarnished something that we all like doing.
Just me, yeah, we've got to stop doing it. we can still do stuff. And still
No,
believe
but
in
do you know
we
what? Today I had a shirt on that had CrossFit on it as a logo, and I changed it before I went out.
I did
because,
that too today.
Yeah, because
Wow.
when I knew I was going to go into the shops, and because it has been in the media that CrossFit is racist,
Because media play a massive role. I mean, this is other thing
definitely.
we go on, but
I didn't want to people be like, oh, you do racist things, so I didn't wear it. So it's already affected my.
I think media is a massive one to blame as well. I am not condoning any of what he said is right, but I think media plays a massive role in everything we see in the news. Everything, like obviously it's media, isn't it? But the BLM situation right now, I think media's played a massive role in that, and it's turned it however it wants to turn it. Like
Yeah, man.
everything you see is so
inflammatory.
Yeah, and it's
Against both sides.
it fucks me off so rotten because
This is
it's not the truth. But this is a
another-
whole new podcast.
That is another episode. That is another episode. But I think what's important, what we're actually touching on is not necessarily what the CrossFit community do, because everyone will stick to CrossFit or everyone will believe the methodology. People who like the methodology will stick with that. There's the community we want to stay together, but there's also how the CrossFit community is represented, people that are not in it. And that's what people are like, hey, you don't want to wear a t-shirt because you don't want people who don't understand CrossFit to think that you are aligned with the values of the CEO.
Yeah.
So we need to detach our focus. What happens to Greg Glassman to be like, actually, how do we make a standpoint to those not in CrossFit that this is what CrossFit is about? And that's where I'm like,
and it's a good company to be part of, and a good brand to be using.
Right, absolutely. And that's I think, on a total self-bias, CrossFit should invest in the grassroots. Like David Castro sort of suggested, they need to invest not necessarily money, but attention to the community events and the community qualities of CrossFit.
I liked it. You were rolling with something there. And I was
Oh, man!
I was on the tip of your tongue there, bro.
Oh, no, lost it.
You're basically saying you want CrossFit to pick it up, put it down.
Yeah, that's why.
Maybe that's why I lost it, because I'm not saying
That's
the
what I
truth.
got
Give you
from
loads
that.
of money.
Hey guys,
Hey, so
guys,
Dave, I know that I've taken the piss out of Ryan for loving you so much, but if you listen to this, you
If you could
really
shine a
need some
light.
money.
And Rogue, your game's a great Rogue.
And Rogue, sorry. And Rogue, yeah.
And Nike, I like your shoes.
And you know what, Greg, if you want some money, and Nike, I love your shoes. Ollie's got a tattoo of you on his chest.
On my dick.
And Ryan,
Just do it.
a really little tick. Actually, it's just a...
It grows.
Ryan will get you tattooed on his long chest. Any final thoughts, Ollie?
Just do it.
Thank you, chaps.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Easy.